Okay, for those of you who've already seen this one with the red thumbnail, have the FIA destroyed Formula One? Well, it's an hour and 20-minute long video, but for those of you that have seen it, you'll know that I've just destroyed what is going on in Formula One at the moment, how corrupt it is. This video, I'm going to destroy Karun Chandhok, who has now presented for Sky Sports for the sport of Formula One as to why McLaren's appeal to the FIA has also been dismissed and validated Max Verstappen. So I'm going to destroy that. Now, what Karun goes into are this notion of these guidelines for what is acceptable and what isn't on overtaking. So I thought I'd see if I can get them guidelines myself. So I went onto the FIA website. I Google searched FIA drivers guidelines, driving standard guidelines for circuit racing championships, and on their website, and again, officials, 28th of the 2nd, 2024, document to provide a consistent reference point for drivers and officials around the world. And then, so it tells you about it and this, that, and the other, and what people think in the comments section. And then it says at the bottom, the guidelines will be presented to the World Motorsport Council, and from the 1st of January 2025, they will be integrated within Appendix L of the International Sporting Code. So these are the guidelines for 2025 that Karun's going to tell us all about. That Max is the expert of and has been driving to those guidelines since 2021 that they've been allowing to them. But they're not going to be part of the regulations until 2025. Anyway, what we're going to do, we're going to destroy Karun now. So what you need to understand is Karun is a liar. Okay, Karun is one of the most dangerous people in life because liars will negatively impact you. When people fail to present the truth, they are presenting something that is corrupt and wrong to get their way or to evade consequence for their actions which are wrong. Lies harm. Okay, if you condition children's minds with lies, that constitutes abuse. Okay, Karun is an abuser. Understand that. If you sent your child to school and the child's teacher conditioned your child with a falsehood and false beliefs, purposefully conditioning your child with false beliefs, corrupt beliefs, illegal beliefs, okay, then that teacher would be guilty of radicalizing your child and guilty of abusing your child through the mental abuse and the psychological impact that that teacher is having on your child. Karun Chandhok is being paid to do that to not only your children, but to you. Karun Chandhok is the kind of scum that takes money for conditioning you and presenting a false narrative, presenting validation for something that is categorically wrong. And what Karun Chandhok is going to do in this presentation is tell you the opposite of what your own eyes see. Now, anybody that tries to convince you of something that your own eyes see, remember the story when we were all 6, okay, when we were all 5, okay, in primary school. Our teachers back then would have told us, because we didn't need a cartoon and we didn't need that. We could all sit down on the carpet and our teacher would read us a story and we could cope with that back then. These days, unless you've got a tablet, unless you've got an electronic device, it's too long, didn't read. We've not got the attention span for that these days because they don't want us to have an attention span. They want us to move on already. Move on already. Move on already. Don't have an attention span, okay? Back then, we read a story, and that story was The Emperor's New Clothes. And that was this travelling bunch of shysters would travel around the world, going from country to country, defrauding people. They would go to the king of the country, the emperor of the country, and sell them their product, okay? And their product was a fake product. And they would say, oh, would you like to buy this off us? Only the most intelligent people, only the best people. Yeah, you that all know. Only the best of you. You want to be considered to be one of the best, don't you? Yeah. Only you're intelligent to actually see just how good this is. Okay. And we would like to sell you this new set of clothes. which are the very best clothes in the world, and they cost the most expensive, obviously, because they would do, because they're the very best. And then what they'd do, they'd pretend that they were doing something, and then they would hand over the nothing that they'd created and take all the money for it. And it took a child in the audience to simply point out that the emperor hasn't got any clothes on. Okay, but the shysters, the travelling fraudsters that would travel from country to country selling their fraudulent product, they'd be the ones that saying, "Oh, look at this! Look at these clothes are amazing! Look at these clothes, they're amazing!" And if you don't think they're amazing, you're not intelligent enough to realise just how amazing they are. See, I learnt that lesson back when I was about 5 or 6, and this is what they're doing to the world now. This travelling shit show is still being allowed to perpetrate. But the difference is these days, rather than just be presenting that whole charade in front of just a crowd of people, what they've got now is they've got the media outlets under their control, okay, in order to present it to the whole world. And they present these people to present to the world that, only if you can understand what I'm telling you are you able to understand Formula One, because it's so complex, and only if you can understand what I'm saying to you, are you one of the intelligent ones that can understand this? And Karun here is one of these shysters, these corrupt fraudsters that's put in front of us to present that. Understand that. Understand that. So I'm going to go through it and explain it to you now. So here we go, Karun.
Here we go, down into...
Here we go indeed. So what can we see with our own eyes? We are coming down a track. This is a straight section of track. 2 cars are on that track. Which car is in the lead? The car on, as we look at it, the left-hand side, the orange car is ahead of the car on the right-hand side. That is a simple fact. It's not debatable. The car on the left is the car that's ahead.
To turn 12. So let's remind us of what happened.
The car that's on the left is slightly further ahead now. When we get a different shot of it, we'll be able to see exactly how far ahead, and it gets to a point where it is 1 car length ahead. The Formula One timing screens will reflect that in 3rd position in this race, because positions 1 and 2 are the Ferrari cars, the car in P3 is the orange car of Lando Norris. The car in P4 is the car of Max Verstappen in 4th position. That is what the official timing screens that reflect the position of those cars tell you, that those are the positions of those cars. Karun is going to try to lie to you and lie to me and lie to your children that what we are seeing with our own eyes is something that is different.
Verstappen was on the inside, Norris on the outside, trying to make the move around the outside.
Norris trying to make the move around the outside. So if we go back, and we'll get this a better shot when we do the onboards, we can see 2 cars battling to go into the corner. 1 car on the approach to the corner is in the lead. The car that's in the lead is the McLaren. Okay, so if somebody is trying to put a move on the other car, if you're trying to change position, what is happening? Which car is challenging which? Is the car that's in 3rd place trying to challenge the car that's in 4th place? Is it that way round? Or is it the car that is in 4th place trying to challenge the car that is in 3rd place? Well, let me tell you, because I'm not a gaslighting bastard like Karun Chandhok, okay? The car that is in 4th place is the one that is challenging the car that is in 3rd place. That is the way it works. So Lando Norris had DRS, he had the extra pace advantage down this straight, and therefore he got his car ahead of Max Verstappen, and therefore was in 3rd position in this race.
Was on the inside, Norris on the outside, trying to make the move around the outside.
So he's trying to say that it's Norris that's trying to make the move around the outside, when the reality is Norris was ahead, and it is Verstappen who is trying to make the move up the inside, and that is the fact of the matter. Do not accept any other lie.
Got into the apex. Crucially, there.
He now tries to project that the crucial aspect of this, using the word crucially, is this point here, the apex. The apex is not the crucial point of what dictates what is allowed around a corner. The reason why the apex is not the thing that determines what is permissible around a corner is because on entry to a corner, and let's go and try and see if I can just go back a little bit just so that we get an enlargement of that screen. Here we go. If we can actually look at the tarmac now and look at the marks on the tarmac, the general shading on the tarmac is, hopefully you can see my white cursor, it's not very big, but the racing line around a corner would be, when there's no other cars involved, the Formula One cars will take a line where my cursor is now, over on the left hand side of the track as we're looking at it, as we're approaching the corner, around here where my white cursor is, and follow this sweep around here. Okay, and then when you attempt to ideally close to the apex at that point there, and then you sweep around and you sweep out to this section of the track. So it's basically from this curbing on entry, clip the apex on the middle, on this side of the track, and then back out to this side of the track. That is what would be depicted as approximately the racing line, which is the fastest line around that corner. What it does, it enables you to take the biggest curve, allowing you to maintain as much speed as possible. Now, when you are determining whether you're able to do that, you have to put the brakes on to decelerate your car to the appropriate speed that's going to enable your car to go around that curve as fast as possible, but maintain control so that you can maintain your position on the track. That is the way that it works. If you try to do this too fast, then your speed that you carry will mean that you'll be carried off the track this side. Okay, you want to go as fast as you can, but without going too fast that's going to take you off the track. Now, if you do that here and determine that speed and carry that speed to here, and now you get to here and you have to adjust that line, you're going to end up off the track. That's the way it is. So you have to make the determination of how you are going to go around this corner back here. When you are doing your braking, you have to make an assessment as to what line am I entitled to take around this corner? Does the car that is trying to challenge me, does that have a right to be afforded space around this corner? Okay, if you are taking a line which is a tighter line around this corner, you will be coming up here, and then you will have to take a tighter line. In order to take a tighter line around the corner, you have to do a slower speed. That is just basic physics. Okay, if you try to do the tighter line at the same fast speed as the car on the outside, you will drive off the track. That's the way it works. Now, so the determining factor is about entry speed to the corner as to whether both cars can make it around the corner and remain on track. And the speeds of those cars has to be relative to each other. The car that's got the wider line around the outside, that can be travelling faster, and if you're entitled to room on the inside, you're entitled to room, but you need to make it that you're slower, because otherwise you won't have the control in order for your car not to travel off the track. So, at the point in time where you're slowing your car, to take into consideration the speed that you need to be to make it around that corner, you're determining that at the braking zone of the corner, and you're determining whether or not you can just totally disregard the other car and choose your line can be the racing line because you don't have to consider the other car, or you're determining whether or not you have to leave space for the other car, and that has to be done at the braking zone whether or not you're eligible. Karun is saying you only determine that at the apex of the corner, which is far too late. One or the other car is going to end up off the track. If you end up at the apex too fast and can't make it around the corner, you've gone too fast into the apex and you're driving out of control, and therefore you will go off the track, and you've breached driving regulations because you've gone off the track and you're driving dangerously. It is as simple as that. So Karun is trying to tell you, he's trying to tell your children that the crucial thing here is Max got to this point here when that is far from being the crucial point for the reasons I've just described. I can do diagrams of this in other videos, but that is the truth of the matter. Karun is lying to you.
To the apex. Crucially, there, at this point, as we can see, Verstappen is clearly in front.
And he gets his diagram out at this stage to say that Verstappen is clearly in front, okay? Because this is what they do. They get their little pens out to go, this is the key thing, and this proves that that is why Verstappen was okay. Prove to us back here who was in front then, Karun. Get the pen out. Who's in front, okay? When we come forward again.
Norris on the outside.
Who's in front? Get the pen out. Who's in front there? That's still Norris.
Trying to make the move.
Who's in front there? You draw the pen line across there. That's still Norris.
Around the...
It's only approximately that point there. You could still argue, though, couldn't you, Karun, that Norris is still in front there? Have they started turning the corner? Well, they were coming in a straight line down there. And where this yellow marker is on the side there, the lines on the track show you that all the drivers start turning and curving for this corner then, don't they? How far beyond that are we now? So up until this point, Norris was either in the lead or now they're about level. Verstappen's on the inner line. Norris is on the outer line, which can afford him to carry more speed around this bend and still remain on track. If you're taking a tight line to this, you have to slow your car down. Otherwise, you're going to be too fast to remain on the track. You're not going to be able to make it round there with the same speed that Norris is travelling. What happens now?
Outside, as they got into the...
Verstappen's car goes ahead, indicating that Verstappen's car is carrying more speed than Norris's car. He's not going to be able to keep on track if Norris was only just about to be able to keep on track. If Verstappen's going faster than Norris was, when the physics will dictate now that Verstappen won't be able to keep that car on track, that's dangerous driving. Karun will lie to you and say that Verstappen has done the clever thing by beating him to the apex. That's dangerous driving. That will kill somebody.
The apex. Crucially, there, at this point, as we can see, Verstappen is clearly in front. Now let's go on board and just have a look. This is a new angle. We didn't get to see Verstappen's on board last.
Okay. Watch out for this. When they pause the footage and look at the left-hand side, which is Verstappen's onboards now, he stops it just a microsecond too late because you will see Lando's car be definitely a full car length ahead. And when he stops it, Verstappen has moved forward maybe 30 centimetres or so, making it look slightly less in terms of the distance that Lando Norris is ahead of Verstappen. Watch out for that, but then he does stop it. So you'll see when he stops it, they'll be at a standstill. It'll be the freeze frame of the two vehicles. But notice that Lando's car was a little bit more ahead than where he's actually paused it at.
This week's is a fresh angle we've got for this weekend. As they head down into the braking zone, look, Norris moves to the right. He's on the outside. Now, Verstappen...
Okay, I've paused it there, and I think he's paused it there. But if you actually watch this, and you actually watch it on the Sky Sports website, he's a fraction of a second too late. Let me just check.
Is clear.
Okay, so that is the pause there. He is going to describe this as being, and I'll put you through to this in a minute. He's going to describe this as Lando Norris just being only a nose ahead. If we drew a line through the axis of the front wheels of Verstappen's car, so we draw a line through the midpoint of those wheels, through the midpoint of those wheels and across here, that line is well behind Lando Norris's car. The overlap might at very best be the nose of Verstappen's car being level with the rear wing of Norris's car. Lando Norris's car is one car length ahead of Max Verstappen. This liar is going to tell your children that Lando is only a nose length ahead. How long is your nose, Karun Chandhok? A Formula One car is approximately 5 meters long, maybe 6 meters long, okay? But at least 5 meters long. Is your nose 5 meters long? Is Lando Norris driving Concorde down that straight? No, he's driving a Formula One car that is a Formula One car length ahead, not a nose length ahead. It is 5 meters ahead. So, I'm just going to rewind this so we hear in full what Karun has to say.
He's on the outside. Now, Verstappen is clearly, at this stage, Norris has got his nose in front, but he's not
Norris has got his nose in front, but that's a car length in front, not a nose.
fully in front of us.
But he's not fully in front. Look at the validation. Norris is a car length in front. The Formula One timing will reflect that Lando Norris is now the lead car. Lando Norris is in third position. If the race ended with this shot looking like this, Norris finishes third, Max Verstappen finishes fourth. Okay, the car that is in the lead is Lando Norris. The car that is in second, sorry, they're not in the lead, they're in third and fourth respectively. The car that is in third place is Lando Norris. The car that is in fourth place is Max Verstappen. But this is the way Karun will describe this.
At this stage, Norris has got his nose in front, but he's not fully in front of Verstappen.
Yes, he is. He is fully in front of Verstappen. But this liar is lying to you and is lying to your children to suggest if you sent your child to school and their teacher said that that distance constituted a nose length, is that teacher lying to your child when it's a 5 meter length? Is it accurate to describe that as a nose length? No, that's lying. Is that not fully in front? That is fully in front. That wins the race if that is the finishing status of those cars. That is the car that's in the lead. Karun, the liar, lies.
Now, Verstappen is clearly, at this stage, Norris has got his nose in front, but he's not fully in front of Verstappen. I think at this stage, Verstappen comes off the brake pressure a bit.
I think Verstappen comes off the brake pressure. Funny how you think that, Karun, because we've actually got the traces that are on the breakdown that's on the Formula One actual web page, but I can't use that footage because they block that on copyright, okay? But we have that, so you don't need to just think that. There's evidence that that's what he's done. As I've already stated, the car that's taking the inside line to a corner like this has to be able to take that slower. The basic rules of physics are, if you are trying to take a curve that a tighter radius, you cannot maintain as much speed on the tighter radius as you can on the larger radius of curve. That's the way that this science works on this. So why is the car that's trying to take the tighter radius going faster than the car on the wider radius? That is the problem. That is a problem. Because when you do that, that reflects that you're not in control of that car. And if the car on the outside can only keep it on the track, if you're going faster on the inner line, you definitely won't be able to keep it on the track. That is the facts of it. There is no way the car on the inside should be now gaining ground and should have come off the brakes. They should be braking harder to make sure that they're taking a slower speed around this corner. They shouldn't be gaining on the car that's on the wider line.
Make sure he's racing, basically.
But he's making sure that he's racing to the apex. So Karun is justifying the notion of a race to the apex. And it is not a race to the apex. If it was a race to the apex, you don't need to brake. You've just told us Max has come off the brakes. If it's a race to the apex, just race to the apex and don't bother with the brakes. Because if that's all that matters, is just race to the apex, carry on going at 200 miles an hour because you win the race to the apex. Then what? You're going to struggle to go around the corner. In fact, what's going to happen is you're going to end up in the walls at 51G. Okay, that's the problem. That's a problem. See, what we're doing, we're not doing a drag race to the apex. We're racing around a circuit, and the rules and regulations and the guidelines, okay, are there for racing around a circuit in a fair manner. And it's not just any circuit, okay, because any doesn't mean all, but it is all circuits. And that's this circuit. It's the other 23 circuits on the Grand Prix calendar. And it's the circuits which have got tarmac runoff areas, gravel runoff areas, and no runoff areas. Those that are enclosed with barriers, cash barriers, like Monaco, like Azerbaijan, the ones where there's no runoff areas as such. And if the track limits are a wall or a crash barrier, so there is no running off a track, you just smash into a barrier. And these regulations, sorry, they're not regulations, they're just guidelines. They are applicable at all types of circuit, runoffs or not runoffs. The guidelines are there for every type of circuit. It's not a race to the apex without consequence of what happens beyond the apex. This is a false narrative being presented by Karun Chandhok, the man put in front of us on the television screen, the program to program your mind, okay, with a falsehood to validate something that is corrupt. This is what the TV does to you. People in the media are put in front of you to program your mind, to condition you to believe something that is corrupt, that somewhere along the line is benefiting somebody. This is what is happening. This is what the media is now being used for, because the media is owned by billionaires. They are controlling it. They own the media to condition your mind, to get you to believe things, to be the way which enables them to get what they want. That is what is going on. Please understand that. Anyway, we'll carry on with what Karun is going to lie to us about.
To that apex. He's trying to make sure he gets to that apex first. And the reason he's trying to do that is because he is acutely aware of the guidelines that the stewards use. Now, these guidelines.
So, what Karun is telling us is the reason that Max is doing that is because Max is one of the clever ones. Remember the Emperor's New Clothes, where only the clever ones can understand this. Max is the clever one. Max is the professor of the sport. Max is also like the new Alan Prost of the sport, you know, the professor type that they make out to be the professor. Max is the one that understands this, okay? And he's acutely aware of the regulations, and that's why Max is the only one that drives like this. Why are they always trying to say that everybody else doesn't know what they're talking about? It's just Max that's right. So, Karun uses this example, overtaking on the outside of a corner. Overtaking on the outside will be viewed as the more difficult manoeuvre to accomplish. So this is the reason, presents Karun. Is Max trying to overtake on the outside? No, Max has gone up the inside. Who was the car that was behind going into that corner? Let's have a look. Let's just go back to here. We're going into the corner. I can't remember who was behind going into the corner. Which car's ahead? Oh, this car here. That's a full length ahead, not just a nose length ahead. That one's ahead. That one's in position 3. Max is in position 4. Which car is attacking which? Oh, the car in position 4 is attacking the car in position 3, so that the car in position 4 can get position 3. That's what's going on here, isn't it, Karun? Okay, don't lie to us about it being any other way. The car that's in position 4, Max Verstappen, is trying to get position 3. So he is attacking position 3 to try to get that position. How is he trying to attack position 3?
Got his nose in front, but he's not fully in front of Verstappen.
He is.
I think at this stage, Verstappen comes off the brake pressure a bit.
So Verstappen attacks the position. Verstappen is trying to do the overtaking manoeuvre up the inside. And he's taken his foot off the brake to carry so much extra speed through the inside line, which you have to brake harder for so that you can make that tighter to leave the other car track room. So Max is doing an overtake up the inside. That is what is going on here. Karun tells us the reason that Max is so good and Max is so intelligent is that he's acutely aware of the regulations about what a car needs to do when it's overtaking on the outside. A car's overtaking on the inside, Karun. Why are you lying to the world?
To make sure he's racing basically to that apex. He's trying to make sure he gets to that apex first. And the reason he's trying to do that is because he is acutely aware of the guidelines that the stewards use. Now, these guidelines
Now, the guidelines that the stewards use. Remember at the start of this video, I told you can go on the FIA website and they'll tell you that the guidelines are going to be incorporated from the after the World Motorsport Council has had a look at them and said, "Oh yes." They nod their head like the Churchill dog. "Oh yes," like they did for the Abu Dhabi 2021 report, which is entirely corrupt. "Oh yes, we're the World Motorsport Council." Yeah, we'll go through them at some point. I'm not going to get into them in this video. And so Karun presents us the overtaking on the outside of the corner document. Okay. And that's not what's going on, is it, Karun? Let's read through these anyway for overtaking on the outside. Lando Norris wasn't overtaking on the outside. Lando Norris was the lead car that Max Verstappen was attacking. So the overtaking maneuver was overtaking on the inside of the corner. We'll come to that, but let's just have a read through this document anyway, because Karun's using this one. It says overtaking on the outside will always be viewed as a more difficult maneuver to accomplish. Therefore, remember, in fact, no, I'll leave that for another video. Therefore, to be entitled to be given room, including at the exit, when overtaking on the outside, the overtaking car must. Okay, I mean, it's not relevant to this situation because Norris was a lead car. The overtaking car was the one on the inside line, but we'll have a read anyway. Number one, have the front axle at least alongside with the front axle of the other car at the apex of the corner and to the exit. It's a bit late by then, isn't it? It's a bit late by then because if you've only got your front axles level by the apex, then you could achieve that condition. But if one car is going at a speed that's capable of making the corner and the other car isn't capable of making is carrying out a speed that's not capable of making that corner. So let me just clarify that again. Two cars are level with each other at the apex, but one car is traveling at a speed that's with enough control for it to making it around that corner on the track, and yet the other car has only got there and only got itself level by traveling at a speed which is too fast to make it around that corner. What's going to happen? Oh, one is going to make it around the corner, the other one isn't. Or in the crossover period, if the faster car's on the inside, there's going to be a crash unless the car on the outside takes evasive action. So that is an entirely fictitious bullshit statement. That cannot be included in any guidelines because it can be ripped apart and it is completely bullshit. And if it ever exists in any FIA document, the FIA should be taken to court for producing a document if anybody ever suffers either damage to their vehicle in a motor race due to these being applied. They can sue the FIA for the damage caused to their motor vehicle, and if they should ever suffer any damage to their person as a result of this sort of regulation, they can sue the FIA for this corrupt guideline, which is entirely invalid. Entirely invalid. So, number two, be driven in a safe and controlled manner throughout the maneuver, and that is entry, apex and exit. Now, although this did not apply to Lando Norris because he wasn't overtaking around the outside. He was the car on the outside being overtaken. Did, however, Norris drive in a safe and controlled manner throughout, going around his line around the outside? Yes, he did. Did it look like he was going to remain on track? Had there have been room to remain on track, and had another car not driven into the line that he was seeking to take to make it around that corner? It certainly appeared that Lando Norris was travelling at a speed and was taking a line that would have enabled him to remain on that track. Like I say, it's irrelevant at this stage because this is not the right document that we are judging this situation by, even though Karun Chandhok has chosen this document to represent this situation. Is this a document? Is it not a document? Does this become a document in 2025? Is the media lying to us? Why is this document not available to us? Why is it only available why has it never been available to us before? Has it just been created to validate Max Verstappen again? Have I just blown apart this document because it's bullshit? Let me know what you think in the comments section. Number 3, be able to make the corner within track limits. And as I said before, did it look like Lando Norris, were it not for having to take evasive action, did it look like Lando Norris on the outside, which is irrelevant anyway, but did it look like Lando Norris was driving in a manner which would have enabled him to get around that corner safely and remain on track? It certainly looked like that. Norris was doing nothing wrong. Norris wasn't the overtaking car, so these don't apply anyway. So this is an irrelevant comparison, but Norris was doing nothing wrong. The document that we need to concern ourselves with is the next one. But here's the thing, you're going to hear something from Karun Chandhok, which says something along the lines of, and I'll pause it, that the car on the inside, this document doesn't say that the car on the inside has to remain on track. This is how crazy this is. So we'll play it on.
Have been created by the stewards and the race directors and the FIA, basically, in consultation with the GPDA and the drivers. And it says quite.
So, this is really official because it's been created by the FIA and Formula One in consultation with the GPDA and the drivers. But what the GPDA with the acronym? The GPD. Who's the GPDA? The Grand Prix Drivers Association. I would assume that represents. Who's in the Grand Prix Drivers Association? Is that the Grand Prix Drivers? The Association of the Grand Prix Drivers. So it's been created in conjunction with the GDPA, the Grand Prix Drivers, and the drivers. So just the drivers, Karen. Thanks for that. But it's official. Thank you for that.
Quite clearly that if the driver is overtaking around the outside, they
It's the wrong document.
need to have their front axle at least alongside the other car. So in this
Okay, and that there is an invalid criteria on the grounds that there are ways in which that criteria results in failing. People just striving to accomplish that criteria neglects other criteria which result in a huge safety concern. So that cannot be the criteria. If that is the sole criteria, along with the other things, okay, because the other things have to be met, then this is the thing. If you're just trying to pick out this being the criteria, which isn't the right criteria anyway, then it's going to result in crashes, and it's not about the race to the apex. It's not about the race to the apex.
this case, Norris needs to be fully
But he gets his yellow line out to underline it, to make the point, to validate Max Verstappen.
alongside Verstappen. He wasn't, and therefore
Look at this snake of a human being.
that wasn't applied. Nowhere does it say, because again, if I read that line, it says that the overtaking car must stay within track limits. Nowhere does it say that the car being overtaken, in this case Verstappen, must stay within track limits. So
it says that if you are going around the outside, you've got to stay within track limits. But if you're going around the inside, it doesn't say you have to. So firstly, he's saying that nowhere does it say the car being overtaken. The car that's being overtaken is Lando Norris, because that was a car that was in front. The car that's on the inside is the car that's trying to do that overtaking maneuver. This man, Karun Chandhok, is trying to tell you it's the opposite of that. The Emperor's New Clothes. Only the most intelligent of you will be able to understand. Look at the amazing Emperor's New Clothes. They are the finest clothes that the world can see. Max Verstappen is the car that's being overtaken here, when Max is the car that's doing the overtaking maneuver up the inside. But nowhere does it say that the car that's being overtaken, Max Verstappen on the inside, the car that's doing the overtake, nowhere does it say that he's got to remain on the track. This is the validation given to the world by Karun Chandhok of Sky Sports F1. Let that sink in. That is filth. Absolute filth. This is what they did to the world at Abu Dhabi 2021 to condition the world of a fraud. An absolute fraud. That's what they did to condition the world of a fraud. They put in front of us talking heads like this to lie to us about the rules of the sport, to lie to us about what was actually going on, to perpetrate their fraud. This is the same thing that is going on now. Somebody is put in front of us to convince us of something that is the opposite of the truth.
He wasn't, and therefore that wasn't applied. Nowhere does it say, because again, if I read that line, it says that the overtaking car must stay within track limits. Nowhere does it say that the car being overtaken, in this case Verstappen, must stay within track limits. So I think
So this is the overtaking around a corner guideline. If that guideline says that the car on the outside, doing an overtake around the outside, what does that mean? That means that if you're doing an overtake around the outside, there's a car on the inside, okay? And if that car on the outside has to stay on track, how does the car on the inside leave the track? How does that work, Karun? Can you explain tell me in the comments section, if there's two cars going around a corner, right, and one's on the outside and one's on the inside, and the one on the outside has to stay on the track, what's going to happen if the one on the inside leaves the track, Karun? Do we have to write that down for people to understand it, Karun? Can you understand that, Karun? How does that work, Karun? If the car on the outside of two cars has to stay on the track going around a bend, surely that means the car on the inside has to stay on the track, because if it doesn't stay on the track, it's ran across the line of the car on the outside, hasn't it? And it's smashed into that car on the outside in the process of that, Karun, hasn't it? Can you explain that, Karun? So this has obliterated your bullshit, hasn't it, Karun? Obliterated your bullshit.
that is something that the drivers would like reviewed. Verstappen must stay within track limits. So I think that is some car. It says that the overtaking car, does it say fully alongside Verstappen? He wasn't, and therefore that wasn't applied. Nowhere does it say, because again, if I read that line, it says that the overtaking car must stay within track limits. Nowhere does it say that the car being overtaken, in this case Verstappen, must stay within track limits. So I think that is some.
So Verstappen's not the car being overtaken, so it's a false statement. Verstappen's doing the overtaking. Nowhere does it say that the car on the inside has to stay on the track. It's Karun Chandhok's presentation to the world, to condition people, that is why it's acceptable for Max Verstappen to run off the track. If you can't see how filthy that is, well, I know what's going to appear in the comments section. Deranged people. We'll carry on with Karun, lying to the world, lying to your children, abusing every single one of us, abusing every one of us with lies of this magnitude. This man is being paid a lot of money to stand in front of us and lie to us to validate something which is atrocious. Understand that. Somebody in the media is being paid a lot of money to stand in front of you, to lie to you, to validate something that is atrocious. This isn't just Formula One. This is many things in this world where there are people in the media paid a lot of money to stand in front of a camera, okay, and be on the television to lie to you, to convince you of something being acceptable when it is something that is atrocious. Understand?
Something that the drivers would like reviewed. Now, this is different.
Oh, but it's there's a problem here with the wording of that we've just made up, and the drivers are a little bit concerned about that. Oh, really, Karen? Really? Oh, would them be the problems I've just told you about?
Different to if an overtaking move is done on the.
Oh, this is different to if an overtaking maneuver is done on the inside. What have we just seen? Who was ahead going into that corner? Going into that corner, and remember that corner starts at the point in time when them cars are coming to the end of the straight and having to start picking their line to take the corner. The 50-metre board, as I showed you the markings on the track. Okay, so at that point, Lando Norris was in the lead, and Max Verstappen is the attacking car, fourth place, attacking third place for that place, and Max has gone up the inside. So this is what applies, but no, Karen's telling you it doesn't apply. Listen to this again.
That the drivers would like reviewed. Now, this is different to if an overtaking
This is different.
move is done on the inside.
So this is what does apply. The guidelines for when an overtaking maneuver is carried out on the inside.
Where it quite clearly says that
It quite clearly says. Forget Karen's yellow fucking pen, okay? That's all what Karun wants to tell you, to highlight to you the things that he wants to do to skew your perspective. Let's read from the top with our own eyes, okay? Because it's an official FIA document, been done in consultation with the drivers and the drivers, and the World Motorsport Council will verify this so that it's valid as of 2025. Anyway, overtaking on the inside of the corner, which was what Max Verstappen was doing. Okay, he was behind and he's trying to overtake Lando for third position in that race. To be entitled to be given room when overtaking on the inside, the overtaking car, Max Verstappen, must have its front axle at least alongside of the mirror of the other car, no later than the apex of the corner. So that criteria on its own is wrong, and the reason being, if by carrying too much speed to achieve yourself at that point, you then are out of control beyond that point, then that's a problem, isn't it? So if you have two cars entering a corner, approaching that apex, we've got a car that is being attacked up the inside. So the car on the outside has left it at least a car width to enable that attack. And the car on the outside is travelling at an appropriate speed to make it around that corner. Yet the car on the inside has just launched it and carried on at 200 miles an hour just so that it can be level at the apex. The car on the inside will not have the control, is not have his speed of car under control at that point, and will just continue on and not go around the corner. So just being level at the apex is irrelevant. Okay, that is nothing to do with it. It's not Max Verstappen understanding the regulations better than everybody else because Max Verstappen is the professor of, it's not regulations, it's the guidelines. Max is the professor of the guidelines. No, it doesn't work like that. No, you will cause a collision like that. Anybody that utilizes that alone as a reason, as a mitigation factor of a collision, will be smashed. Okay, and anybody that is the victim of that takes part in FIA accredited motor racing worldwide, if your car suffers damage due to a driver doing that to you, you can sue the FIA for all the damage that is done to your vehicle and any damage that is done to you on that basis. You can sue Sky Sports F1, you can sue Karun Chandhok for presenting that is the case, and presenting to the children that are going to take part in motorsport that they are allowed to do that, because that is false. That is false. So, next. 2. Be driven in. Also, they've got to tick all of these boxes, haven't they? It's not just the race to the apex, is it, Karen? They've got to tick all of these boxes. Be driven in a safe and controlled manner throughout the manoeuvre, which is the entry, the apex, and the exit. So Max Verstappen was in 4th place. Lando Norris was in 3rd place. Max Verstappen is attacking up the inside. This is what has happened. Do not try to gaslight us to make us to believe that anything else other than that was taking place, because that is what we see happening with our own eyes. Max Verstappen is attacking up the inside of a corner for a position. He has to drive in a safe and controlled manner throughout the manoeuvre. On entry and carrying in more speed on a tighter line to a car that is taking that corner on a wider line does not demonstrate driving safely on entry. At apex is a snapshot in time. How do you determine something being safe at a paused moment in time? You have a still shot of 2 cars being side by side at a single moment in time. Determine the safety of a photograph. So that's bullshit as well. Okay. And on exit, which entry is the amount of room, the amount of ground covered from when they start braking, and from when they start turning from being on a straight line to starting their curve around that corner. That's entry. So from beginning to turn that steering wheel until they get to the apex, that's the whole of the entry area. And then from that apex to when they get back around to the next straight, that's the exit of the corner. The snapshot of time, that's the apex. That bit's irrelevant, really. So, exit, you have to drive safely on exit, which affords the car that you're trying to challenge room on the track as well as you. So you've got to keep on the track yourself and leave your driver you're trying to challenge track room as well. Did Max do that? No. So that's dangerous, isn't it? So he has not driven in a safe and controlled manner throughout that manoeuvre, leaving a fair and acceptable width for the car being overtaken from the apex to the exit of the corner. He hasn't done that, has he? Evidently not. Evidently he wasn't under control because he couldn't keep his own car on track. That's dangerous driving. That's a black flag for dangerous driving, because he did the same on the turn 1 of lap 1 of the Grand Prix when he's gone too fast into a corner, not been able to keep his car under control, and driven over the track. Well, driven the other car off track, not left his opponent, who was on his outside, room on the track to be there. That's dangerous driving. He did that turn 1, lap 1. He's doing it again now. That's the second offence of dangerous driving in the race. That's the black flag. That's a race ban. That's banned from the sport for continually doing it. Anyway, so this includes leaving a fair and acceptable width for the car being overtaken. So the car on this type of situation, Lando being overtaken, has to be left a fair and acceptable width for the car, for Lando, from the apex to the exit. What did Max Verstappen do? Max drove from the apex off the track. That's not leaving the car on the outside, Lando, room on the track, is it? A width of a car, an acceptable width on the track. That's not doing that. And 4, Max Verstappen, the car on the inside doing the overtaking manoeuvre, must be able to make the corner within track limits. Isn't it funny that Karun says on the other guidelines for overtaking around the outside, nothing is said about the car on the inside staying on the track. The car on the inside doesn't have to stay on the track on that situation. But here, when you're overtaking on the inside, you have to be able to stay on the track. But when you're the car on the inside, when somebody's going around the outside of you, you don't have to stay on the track. Talk me through that one, Karun. How does that work? How does that work? No, it doesn't, does it, Karun? Which demonstrates once again you're a fraud. You're lying to the children. You're conditioning minds. You are a child abuser. You're an abuser of every single person. Every single person that has access to this, you are abusing with what you are telling them. You lying abuser. That is what you are.
That the car overtaking on the inside cannot force the other car off track, and this is what caught George Russell out. So
doesn't apply to Max Verstappen. This rule of overtaking on the inside, which is what Max Verstappen has just done, it doesn't apply to Max Verstappen, but it does apply to George Russell. See what he's done there? See, this is the difference. You see, this is the difference between the Lando Norris, Max Verstappen situation compared to the George Russell situation. See what he's doing there?
I think this is where the scenarios are different. A lot of people have been,
once again, he has to confirm it's different. It's not different.
Looking at what happened to Russell and why he got penalised. But in his case, if we...
Okay, what have we got here? Have we got a car on the inside and a car on the outside? So a car taking a wider line. I think the car on the outside, the green car of Valtteri Bottas, kids, that's just a nose ahead. It's not fully ahead. You know, it is a full car length ahead. Okay. The car on the outside is a full car length ahead of the car on the... slightly more, actually. I just have to pause it here. But it is a full car length ahead of the car that's on the inside, okay? Not just a nose length. So at this point in time, this car is ahead. The car that's behind is challenging it for position. Karun is trying to lie to us all and pretend that it's the opposite of this for the Max Verstappen Lando Norris situation, but it's exactly the same.
We look at it, he went...
Two cars going into the corner. Which car is ahead? The car on the outside.
Went down the inside.
Which car is ahead? The car on the outside.
Side of the corner.
They're now approximately level.
Again.
Going through the apex, they were approximately level. Snapshot in time. Didn't freeze frame it at that point in time. Track room for both cars at the moment. What needs to happen now? The car on the inside.
Against Valtteri Bottas, and at this stage...
needs to leave room.
As he comes out.
And he doesn't. Did George keep on track himself? Did George drive himself straight across there, out of control? Was George in enough control to leave his opponent track room? No, he wasn't, was he? So George wasn't enough control by getting round here to leave his opponent track room. So George got a penalty. What Max did was far worse than that. Max drove off the track at this point here. Yeah, a lot earlier, indicating that Max wasn't under control. George can keep it on the track. George, by keeping it on the track but not giving his opponent track room, got a 5-second penalty. Max couldn't keep his own car off the track, and the other car had to leave the track. Otherwise, there'd have been a crash. Oh, that's the other car's fault when it involves Max Verstappen.
It's quite clear Bottas doesn't have...
It's quite clear, isn't it? The liar, once again, tells us it's quite clear how amazing the Emperor's new clothes are. But you can't be the child in the crowd saying that the Emperor's not wearing any clothes, because they own the media. And what the media do is incite the other crowd members to turn on you as a little child, saying, the Emperor's got no clothes. And they'll all turn on you and throw the tomatoes at you and say that you don't know what you're talking at, little child. You don't know what you're talking about. It's only the people on the stage, on the platform, the ones with the media platform, that are the experts. And we are the intelligent people that agree with the media experts. Remember when we learnt that when we were 5 years old or 6 years old? Yes, the Matrix, the mind conditioning. It's working, people. It's working.
Have racing room. He's forced off the track, and that's why the stewards gave George Russell a...
So that's why the stewards gave George Russell the penalty, because George was the car that was... so that's validating giving George Russell the penalty. The car that is going up the inside of a corner, trying to overtake the car that's on the outside by taking the inside line. And
on the inside of the corner against Valtteri Bottas, and at this stage, as he comes out,
and he's forced the other car off track, so you get a penalty. Whereas the completely opposite version of this, because they show it from the completely opposite angle. Why do we use a camera footage when we've got so many angles? Why do we use the opposite angle where we're trying to show the same type of thing? And compare and contrast, but we'll compare and contrast from an opposite viewpoint. That's strange, isn't it?
So let's remind us of what happened.
But we can still see.
Verstappen was on the inside, not.
Yeah, Verstappen's on the inside, he's behind. So it's like George Russell was on the inside and behind. That's right.
Is on the outside, trying to.
Yeah. So the car behind is on the inside.
Make the move around the outside as they got into the apex. Crucially,
remember George stayed on track, but just left no room for Valtteri.
There, at this point, as we can see, Verstappen is clearly in.
Don't need your yellow lines, Karun.
Front. Now let's go on board and just have a look.
Oh, you've not showed us. We'll show it from the driver's perspective.
This is a new angle. We didn't get to see Verstappen's on board last week, so this is a fresh angle we've got for this weekend. As they head down into the braking zone, look, Norris moves to the right. He's on the outside. Now, Verstappen is clearly, at this stage, Norris has got his nose in front, but he's not fully in front of Verstappen. I think at this stage, Verstappen comes off the brake pressure a bit to make sure he's racing, basically, to that apex. He's trying to make sure he gets to that apex first. And the reason he's trying to do that...
Why aren't you going to show us what goes on afterwards? Why aren't you going to show us what goes on afterwards? You've now shown us this. Now shown us this. And you've gone from that to this example. You've not shown us what control Max Verstappen was in after going around that corner, have you, Karun? Why have you cut from the apex and not what has happened after the apex to then George Russell?
Penalised, but in his case, if we look at it, he went down the inside of the corner.
And we'll stop there. Shall we show you the onboards now from Russell and Bottas side by side to show you the difference? Or shall we show you what goes on after the apex?
Against Valtteri Bottas, and at this stage, as he comes out, it's...
Oh! Why would you do that? Why aren't you showing us what goes on after the apex, Karun? Sky Sports F1.
Quite clear, Bottas doesn't have...
It's quite clear, isn't it?
Racing room, he's forced off the track, and that's why the stewards gave George Russell a penalty there. So these aren't regulations, these are guidelines.
They're not regulations, they're not rules, they're not laws, or these are just guidelines, are they? What's the difference? Okay, if there's an assessment criteria as to how something is going to be judged upon, then this is what needs to be applied when you are making a judgment of this situation. That judgment is made by the referees, which we call stewards in this situation. They have video assistance, the video evidence to be able to review what has gone on. Okay, and then stewards that are the FIA stewards that the FIA claim are making decisions independently of them. So this is all gaslighting. Okay, they determine in accordance with this criteria what penalties to apply.
But it's very much what is used as we go on board with Bottas. You can see it's very much what is used by the stewards.
We stopped the onboards at the apex, didn't we, Karun?
In order to try and work out what penalties. Now, in Norris's case, one thing that is also in the guidelines is if you go beyond the track limits, fully off.
Oh, in Norris's case, if you go off the track,
and
I mean, it doesn't say that if you're Max's car on the inside that you have to stay on the track. Remember that. In Verstappen's case, as the car on the inside, it doesn't say anything about you not being allowed to go off track. But in Norris's case, if you do go off track,
gain a lasting advantage.
If you gain a lasting advantage, he didn't gain a lasting advantage because he was ahead going into the corner and he came out of that corner ahead. You're not gaining an advantage if you're ahead and are still ahead, having been pushed off the track. Okay? If the other car left you track room and you went off because you were going too fast and then rejoined the track still ahead, but were only able to still be ahead because you'd left the track and track room was left for you to still be on the track, that would be gaining an advantage by carrying in too much speed, going off the track and maintaining your position. That's clearly not the case. That's not the case, is it, Karun?
Which he clearly did by gating a position up in front.
Look, I need to rewind what Karun is saying in full here.
In this case, one thing that is also in the guidelines is if you go beyond the track limits, fully off track, and gain a lasting advantage, which he clearly did by gating a position.
He's in the lead. What advantage has he got? Back here he was a car length ahead. He's still in the lead, and he's going to emerge in the lead. Where's the advantage there? Had Verstappen made it around that corner, leaving Lando enough room to be on there, and Lando had left the track and maintained his position in the lead, Lando would be in the wrong, and the penalty would be because he's left the track and gained the advantage by leaving the track. And that advantage being he's carried too much speed around there to remain on the track, and therefore by driving out of control, he's left the track and maintained his position. But you're not allowed to do that. But that's not the case. The case here, he's been forced off the track. So the penalty is the person to the car that's forcing him off the track. He was travelling at an appropriate speed to make it around that corner to maintain his position on the track, only to be forced off the track. But Karun can't tell you that.
Up in front of Verstappen, then you will be penalised. And there, quite clearly, he gained a lasting advantage by getting front. Now, one
didn't gain a lasting advantage. He was ahead. He's actually retained being ahead because the other car committed the infringement.
thing I would be interested to know is if Norris had stayed behind.
And now what he does, he presents a story where, if Norris now would have done something different, he might have been okay here. So they embellish the lie. And this is what they do. This is what they did after Abu Dhabi 2021. What should have happened is they should have been, they should have red flagged it. Or what should have happened, if they'd have kept them 5 cars in place and rejoined that, then Max would have overtaken them 5 cars because they'd have all got blue flags, and by turn 8, Max would have got through them and been able to challenge Lewis down to turn up. They invent these bullshit scenarios which are wrong. Okay, that's what they do. They embellish the lie to then divert people's attention and take your mind off down a fucking storyline. And that's what then people start arguing about.
Verstappen at this stage, and probably would have overtaken him in the next lap or two because he had so much more pace. Could McLaren have then argued that he was forced off the track and maybe, forced a penalty there for Verstappen, avoided the penalty for Norris? I still believe a week on.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Was it the teams getting at the race director who was under so much pressure? Could they have released the lapped cars a bit earlier? Could they have done this? Should they have red flagged the race? You let me know what you think about it. Did Max fully deserve it because he led the most amount of laps this season? This is what the media do. They want to turn this into an argument to get us arguing, focus our attention on arguing with each other, let the crowd argue amongst themselves while the shysters, the corrupt criminals, the fraudsters, pack up, take their money, and move on to the next Emperor's New Clothes show, where they make more money at the next Emperor's New Clothes show, while we're still arguing about the lies that we've been fed at the last one. This is what the media do. This is what this corrupt man on stage is encouraging us to do. This is what the liar, the abuser, this is the same type of person that will phone up your grandma and defraud her out of her life savings with one of these cold calling fraudulent phone calls. This is the same type of individual as that. Yet this one, you're encouraged to respect. You're encouraged to think, what an amazing guy this is. That's the level of integrity that Karun Chandhok has.
They should have given up that place then and there. Everybody, as Verstappen just said, knows you cannot gain in a place by over.
Everybody knows. Verstappen said, and Verstappen's the expert of the regulations, you cannot gain a place by going off the track. That's right, everybody. That's right. That's the lasting thing that you need to remember from that. Verstappen said you can't gain. Let's ignore Verstappen's crime. Ignore Verstappen's crime. Ignore Verstappen's crime. You can't do anything wrong.
Overtaking off the track, and therefore I think if he'd given up the place there, he wouldn't have been penalised and would probably.
And if Lando had given it back to Max, Lando wouldn't have got the penalty. That's what they condition you with. That's filth. This is what's going on in our world, ladies and gentlemen. We're all being lied to in this manner in many aspects of our life, and this is what they've done to Formula One. They did it in 2021. They committed a global fraud. They're still perpetrating it. They will not change themselves because they are all criminals. And when the mafia are in charge, they are not going to hold themselves accountable to law. We have to do that. Understand, the mafia are in charge and they have their media, and their media are lying to us. Thank you for your time. Not Max Verstappen. Karun Chandhok is one of the most filthy human beings in this world. He's absolutely filthy. Right, that'll do on this one. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and please check out the previous video. Sadly, what have we got? 41,000 people have had their mind conditioned by that. 41,000 people have had their mind conditioned so far. 425 of them are that conditioned that that's what they think is okay. Now, if I can find that one, please go and watch that one. It will destroy them even more than what this one has. Thanks for your time.